goodness, my hair is getting out of control. Hold on, prop it on top of my glasses. What's going on, ChavezzSlovakia? It's your boy Chavez here. First of all, look at my shirt. Huh? The Ultimate Fighter, vintage, Tito Ortiz. This shirt's probably, what, 10 years old now? All right, Songs of Six by Seth Steentak. The only things that I've heard of this game, right, the only thing I've heard is that it has questionable morals at best. It's not safe to play around family, but we're gonna get into the actual review. Let's get into it. This looks like exactly the kind of game he would play. All right, let's do it.
What is the worth of a human life? I can't give you that answer, but I can tell you the worth of an elvish life. 62 meat and 17 leather.
What
once
is
you really
going on?
Peel them down.
How are these games getting through development with this kind of gameplay mechanic? Bro, like, I had to explain to my wife when we played Dragon's Dogma that the characters are going to call you master throughout the entire thing, and you kind of got to just go with it. You know what I'm saying? They're not really slaves. They're just kind of subservient, otherworldly beings. But this is slave labor and part selling. How do you dress that up?
People, Seth here. Despite doing this for several years, I have never figured out how to use a microphone. And for this, I sincerely apologize.
Me either. I started to use one for a while, and then we just stopped.
Songs of Six is an ambitiously made, self-styled city-state simulator developed for the better part of 7 years.
On the
now,
best
imagine
machines known
you
to
start
man.
playing the game, and naturally, you play the tutorial. I imagine most people do. The difference, however, is that over 100 hours later, I am still on the tutorial.
What? What is... Don't you run from this. What is on here? Songs of Six, Total War, Warhammer. By the way, fantastic game, if you guys have never played it. But what's happening here? Scarlet Maiden images. Yep. Titties and fighting. Some spanking. That's about what I expected. And then what's this TAM? What if we did like a picture search? Paste it in. There we go. Tamer Val. More boobs. More fighting. Yep, that's about what I expected. I'll allow it, Seth.
This is the story of Jackaton, the default starting location for the tutorial, which is named after the developer. We have no mountains, no natural resources, a sprinkle of trees, a small lake, and generally nothing. We're sandwiched between four neighbors, the city-states of Tagenval and Sluva, and the empires of Starless and Ulisu. In a word, it's not looking very good for us. In the beginning, you start with a couple dozen citizens and a dream of something greater. Unfortunately, we are Crotonians. These are peaceful, vegetarian pigmen with no aspirations beyond slumming in the dirt and farming crops. But for our purposes, they're perfect. And I quickly started an agricultural operation. It's not much, but at least we're not starving. Grain has to be processed by a bakery, while fruit and vegetables can be eaten directly.
That's
Regrettably,
disgusting.
instead of a fruit farm, I started an orchard. I did this on the promise that it's a slow operation with twice the potential yield. To this day, it has produced no fruit, because by the time the fruit trees mature, I get a worm infestation and have to chop them all down. Citizens typically prefer locals over immigrants, and the only way to increase the local population is by having children at the local nursery. In this game, a year is 16 days, and each 4 days is a season. A baby becomes a child, and a child becomes eligible for labor at 4 years of age. Songs of Six encourages the miracle of childbirth with the economic miracle of child labor. Also, after my pigmen accidentally snacked on all the vegetables in the nursery crib, I can confidently tell you infant mortality has no effect on the happiness of your population.
Okay, thank you. They were vegetables, though, not babies, right? Like it was eating vegetables and not baby vegetables. Were the babies the vegetables? Also, these pigmen remind me of the same pig guys that are in the slime anime. The time I was reincarnated as a slime. These seem like the same pigs.
But you know what has an effect on my happiness? Getting paid to plaster my walls with illustrations of naked women.
Okay.
Hang on, guys. This wall, it's so barren, so dull,
Right.
so lifeless.
Yeah.
Luckily, today's sponsor is Displate. Displate is a unique metal
Displate.
poster designed to capture all your passions, whether they be Elden Ring, Star Wars, Warhammer, or Call of Duty. Displate has over 2 million artworks across hundreds of brands.
So-
If you know me, you'll know I love my Displates more than any lame paper poster. But what if they could be even better? You see, I can only look at my normal posters. That's a problem. And the solution is Textra, Displate's brand new tactile poster collection.
That's
now I can run my
cool.
fingers along my precious Displates
It's
and
got
really
Cthulhu.
feel
I
those
want it.
tactile textures, 3D contours, and selective matte and gloss effects.
What?
And of course, it makes them look even cooler. The new Textra finish will be available on hundreds of the best-selling Displates,
Yeah.
and Displate looks forward to expanding the library of Displate textures
I
in
want
the
that.
following months. So, what are you waiting for? Go to displate.com/Seth and check out the selected designs that you can now get with
Oh,
a new
that is
Textra
sick,
finish.
dude.
Transform your walls today with Textra. And
Dude.
thank you to Displate for sponsoring this
And look,
video.
I got an
Your
empty
city
wall right there. It would be perfect. Or over there even. I want to do that.
lives and dies on happiness. If you fail to keep your citizens happy, you'll start a failure cascade that ends in ruin. The simulation goes down to each individual citizen and measures the average fulfillment of their needs and desires for that particular race.
This is
race
so
is an
complicated.
interesting topic. Some races
Oh
don't.
my god, do you guys know what that's a reference to? Let's not even get into it.
Get along. Some races are predisposed to crime. Some races control our educational sector, our labs, and our academia. But what else am I supposed to do when everyone else hates education? I'm talking, of course, about none other than humans. Humans are troublesome, criminal, and have
What
the
is
lowest sanity
happening?
score of any race, which means an essential component of any healthy human population is an asylum. But they heckin' love science, which is important because this game handles research in a unique fashion. You don't just learn something. No, you research it, and then you have to pass on that generational knowledge across time. Remember, we don't start with paper. We get to that point after multiple generations of oral tradition.
That's
and even
sick. That's actually a really cool process. You know, and when you play Civilization, that's like not a part of it at all. You research something, you learn it. Your citizens' happiness kind of matters, but it's really not that hard to maintain. Do they have war? Do they have food? Do they have money? That's really it. And it's really all across the board. Did you take over their city? Give them time, they'll get over it. And when you learn something, it doesn't matter. You just need the resources available to enact whatever you learned. But it's kind of like across the board.
then, we have to maintain and preserve our existing knowledge against entropy. Almost every other race
Wow.
dislikes intellectualism and prefers to be indoctrinated. This is advantageous as it fosters loyalty in the absence of happiness. An open mind is an open bussy, its gates unbarred and unguarded. Some might argue that great men are made,
a bar.
not born. In the case of Dondorians, that is literally true because they appear as fully formed adults at the base of a mountain.
That's sick. Dundorian citizen, Matthew. Okay. General health is excellent. Recorded weight, 88. Height, 6'1". Said to have descendant of a great hero. Dude, these names are killing me. He has immigrated to your city, originates from the village of the origin isle of Harvstead. Not yet been shopping for a home, but will look for one soon. Well, that's very detailed. Yet enlisted in armed forces, has no workplace to go to, but is ready to be able to take on any odd job your majesty sees fit. Always aspired to be a tavern keeper. Feels you can do better as a ruler. Quite a bit better, to be honest. I walk around all day trying to find something to do, but let's face it, I'm useless. All the real jobs are taken. I have no way of contributing. So you can have too much success. He's literally suffering from success. Every day I need to spend a lot more time cleaning my muddy feet. We need more better roads in our city. Once we are united as brothers, now everywhere I look, I see green, red, and even blue faces. I'm not a racist, but some of these are lower breed, my lord. Oh my God, you have citizens with problems. Oh my lord. Oh, I loved every moment of reading that. This is a game of culture. I don't know what culture, but it's got one.
Dondorians, that is literally true, because
Fuck.
they appear as fully formed adults at the base of a mountain. For this reason, the only way to get Dondorians is by immigration. They're good at mining, they're good at Minecraft, they're basically dwarves. The Talapi are forest-dwelling elves.
Okay, so the Talapi citizen, she's 32 years old, a hopeless romantic. Efficiency is one of my main priorities. Can hear the voices of the gods and is renowned for seeing into the future. Feels you can do better. Okay, here we go. Better access to bathhouses. Dude, your place is dirty. We want better access to taverns, better access to physicians. I can get bored at times. Back where my kin comes from, we usually had a public execution every full moon. I would suggest you arrange the same. Oh, my lord. They want very specific and brutal things. We might leave that in, because that's fascinating. It sets a great tone for the game. All right, back to the dwarves.
The Talapi are forest-dwelling elves. They're good with trees, and they're good with nature. What else? They're also known for violating human men for several days before they cannibalize.
Oh my god! At dusk, the great Cream Amaroth set upon the village and swiftly overran the defenses with her Talapi host. The children were slain, and the women were put in chains. For 2 days, the men were defiled, then slaughtered and eaten. Oh my goodness gracious!
They're also known for violating human men for several days before they cannibalize them. Bizarrely, this makes them compatible with a cave-dwelling Garfimi, who are effectively bugmen. What they lack in skill, they make up for with raw numbers. And there's nothing bugs enjoy more than plucking limbs from the other races. And
oh my, dude, this is amazing in the worst way. Okay, we'll skip over the details here, even though I'm fascinated by them. He's not enlisted in the armed forces. But let's get to the good part. He feels you could do better. Let's get to what you could do better with. Corpses are everywhere. They breed rats and pests. Something needs to be done. Well, you're the one cutting them up, bud. More humidifier monuments, because he's a bug. And our city's in danger of being raided. We need means of defending ourselves. Very
and
reasonable.
while most cities will have a mixed population, some races don't get along with anyone. Viamevia are coastal-dwelling lizard men. They're uniquely xenophobic and incompatible with other races, which is
10%.
offset by their impressive physique and high lifespan. If you want a true monocultural, isolationist experience, try the lizards. Finally, there are 2 giant races you can't normally get. The in-lore explanation is that their populations have been decimated over the course of several great wars. If you control a region containing a haven and satisfy their high demands, they can be convinced to join your cause.
Cool.
While they have many differences, they do share a common trait. They're fucking gigantic and make for the best shock troops in the entire game. There's a bit of an irony in a sense that they're incredibly rare and almost extinct, and the best thing they're good at is getting even more extinct. The Argonash are spider leviathans with a voracious appetite. They don't care for anything except food, which may sound simple until you realize the logistical nightmare of providing 4 meals a day to every person on the map.
Damn.
The Cantors may ask for more up front, but they're easier to satisfy. Generally. Once I arrested 2 people at the same time, but only had 1 courtroom. One of the 2 arrested thieves had no legal representation. They considered this a complete breakdown of my legal system and left in disgust. But at the time, I knew none of this. I was a young blood, desperate to turn a profit and expand my settlement. YouTubers are a prime example of making the most amount of money with—
What did he just say? I might be in trouble. Repeal consent laws?
I was a
Who
young
are
blood,
these
desperate to
people?
turn a profit and expand my settlement. YouTubers are a prime example of making the most amount of money with the least amount of skill and intellect. In a fair society, these are the people who should be toiling in the coal mines and dying of black lung. Appropriately, I simulated this by importing Garfimi slaves and renaming them to my favorite content creators. I invested so much into this coal mining operation.
Hey man, you didn't put me as any of those. Don't you like me? Come on. I deserve to be a slave toiling in the mines. 4-hour essay on The Witcher.
Them to my favorite content creators. I invested so much into this coal mining operation only to find out I've spent several in-game years for a tar pit with 30% efficiency.
Nice.
It wasn't just unprofitable, but because of the size and scale, the cost of maintenance alone sent me into the red. On the other hand, I found out slavery is actually quite well received, as my citizens enjoy a slave population so long as it's not their own. My settlement grew, and unfortunately, crime had become an issue. Another day, another flashing. The people lived in fear. Arrests had to be made, but because I spread myself so thin, I didn't have the resources or manpower to enforce it. And so, the public indecency continued until I increased my coverage. And after the prison started filling up, I am forced to make a difficult statement. Dundorians are sex pests. Of the 5 indecent exposers, all 5 have been dwarves. I have no further comment. At this point, I was earning capital by exporting furniture. This game doesn't have a fixed economy. Trade prices fluctuate and work on the rules of supply and demand. Basically, if you can make your own, that's strongly encouraged. If you have excess to sell off, that's good too, but overtrading a commodity can apply disproportionate pressure on the value, which is minimized by the number of trade partners. So, if you want money, you better diversify. But if you don't, poverty also has its advantages. If our
Why?
treasury is
What?
empty and we're dead broke, guess what? Our diplomatic gifts mean a whole lot more, which is important because if our reputation drops to zero with any of the 4 factions bordering us, we're getting invaded.
Are you selling man-horse to avoid poverty? Is that what you're trying to demonstrate?
Army of 0 men, I don't fancy my chances. So I would intentionally dip my savings into the red, plead, cry, and defecate in front of my neighbors, and a pathetic display made me an unattractive target for assault. I would reputation farm into the multiple thousands so I could reliably forget about it for the next dozen years, while enjoying the benefits of almost 0 taxation on all trade. This gave me a lot of time to experiment and figure out what I'm doing. Firstly, I tried mining gemstone. Subsequently, I failed at mining gemstone. Instead, I used the natural fertility of Jacketon and turned it into an opium plantation.
Nice.
I still had a lot of Garfimi slaves left over and put them to work in fields of poppies and cotton. However, I got overly...
we got slaves, we have opium, that equals profit. No way it doesn't.
Slaves left over and put them to work in fields of poppies and cotton. However, I got overly ambitious and my bugs got a little rowdy. There is no other situation where the following words can be said. The cotton pickers are having another uprising. Subsequently, we abolished the practice. Not on moral grounds, but because they robbed my throne and took just about everything. Happiness was at an all-time low among my Dundorians, so I tried producing alcohol and opened a tavern. Demand outstripped supply. Access was terrible and supplies were so low that it just made them angrier.
Damn!
So I tried satisfying food preference instead. Mushrooms, fish, complex proteins. Then I restricted everyone to just eating bread, and they were happier. Additionally, I tried introducing fine dining in the form of restaurants, and almost lost the game to a public riot. Not only did I fail to meet supply, but each time I did so, a citizen would starve, spiraling into a vicious loop.
But see, imagine that. Your government tells you they're opening up a bunch of new high-class restaurants, and you spend all the time getting excited for it just to show up, and then there's no food available. I would riot too.
Desire for the Mick menu was so strong that it overrode their survival instinct to eat street food, preferring instead the embrace of death. This was not a plague of famine. It was a plague of choice. After the many lessons learned, alcohol is haram, cooking is forbidden, and our entire food pyramid is bread. Finally, I did make a breakthrough in citizen satisfaction. It turns out that when I select and look at a random peasant, they are not meant to be caked in shit. And only after building bathhouses 40 hours into the game did I make that connection.
Oh, okay. So when you read, hey, it's dirty out here, give me a bath, you were like, fuck them.
This time, I also realized, after reading the tooltip, the reason for my insane cost of maintenance. You see, buildings have walls. Walls increase isolation. I did not build any walls. Do I have to rebuild my entire city? Yes, I did. I rebuilt the whole thing. And I learned to love city planning. Building design is incredibly fun, and there's no greater satisfaction than having an elegantly designed lavatory for optimal shitting, pissing, and sharding. In the end, you take so much pride in what you've built. Am I coping? Yes, absolutely. But after numerous trials and tribulations, I had a stable, diversified economy and a series of shacks resembling civilization.
Nice.
Also, I promoted a 4-year-old to become nobility. Because it's funny, nobles provide a variety of beneficial effects, and currently they're a work in progress. Or, as the developer translated to me, they cannot betray you yet. Everything was calm and peaceful until we found a Crotonian with his eyes scooped out. On the body was a note, signed Jake the Invincible.
Hold on, we're back. A murder has occurred, but this murder is different. The body was found with its eyes removed. Perhaps this was done as the victim was alive, but we're hoping it was post-mortem. What is even more disturbing is the note that was left. We must hope and pray the criminal is found and stopped. Today I have saved a soul. I will take many souls before my great work is complete. Please, mortals, do not even attempt to stop me in my work. You are like mere flies, and only a slight annoyance. I am beyond any of you. I am Jack the Invincible. This reminds me of the plot of The Sandman.
Claiming that he's saving lives by returning them to his forgotten god. Our city had a serial killer. Another day, another victim found dead. eye sockets empty.
What?
Every victim was a Crotonian, and this was clearly a racially targeted crime. Terror ruled the streets, and we had no leads. It wasn't until a passerby claimed to see a Crotonian woman fleeing the scene. This information didn't add up, but we tortured a confession out of them,
Wow.
and they pleaded guilty to all crimes. The serial killings promptly stopped. Jake the Invincible was identified to be a middle-aged Crotonian woman predating on her own people. We sent the killer into the arena to be chopped into pieces for the spectacle of a crowd. We gave their body as much respect as it deserved. We pissed on it and dumped it into a mass grave. Serial killings are rare, and they're not often so straightforward. You might get the wrong guy and torture out a false confession, or the trail simply goes cold from lack of evidence. Eventually, beyond exports and fields of opium, I found the most lucrative source of cash. I would intentionally reduce my army down to 0 to try and entice rebels to attack my city. The moment this happens, I hire mercenaries, crush the invaders, and sell off their loot for fat stacks. This sent me from borderline broke to $500,000 in the bag. Now,
great.
Hiring mercenaries is incredibly expensive. Paying them is even more expensive, but they handle their own supplies and they're instantaneous. I used them to conquer a neutral region, and as I did, my brain expanded and my neurons started firing. Because suddenly, I can hire more. For each region under my control, I get access to 5 extra mercenary companies.
I see.
So I hatched a plan. Take all my money, raise an army of mercenaries, and conquer Winsta, the weakest nation I could find nearby. With each city taken, my numbers increased, eventually laying siege to their capital. I sold everything to keep those mercenaries paid. I almost ran out of money. If that siege lasted a day longer than it did, I would have lost. But in the end, it was worth it, because I reached the max limit of mercenary companies, and I could now recruit enough men to overpower anyone. Problem is, they're asking for $750K up front with a daily fee of $100K. Soldiers of fortune have a steep asking price, but what if the Golden Horde could pay for itself? I've been on the back foot of negotiations, pleading and groveling to my neighbors for mercy, until now. Selling my spoils, I muster a short-lived but massive army, declare war, intercept their army, and immediately sue for peace, to which they have no option but to accept my favorable terms. The best part about shotgun diplomacy is you already know the answer each time. Because once they surrender, we do it again until we empty their entire treasury. Unknowingly, they just paid for their own demise. The century of humiliation was over as Jackaton turned on their allies. No longer...
That's exactly what we do as a... Never mind. America!
Will I be extorted each time it's their nephew's birthday. Tegenval and Sluva were too small to resist. The elvish empire of Starless to the north was a different story, but led to the development of strategies I'd replicate going forward. Economic hyperwar is the act of manipulating the enemy to take decisions that are numerically beneficial while destroying them internally. We invade cities, sell them back to the enemy, only to invade them again. Then we use them as bartering chips for other cities, take control of those cities, demolish the walls, and advance our front line. We remove the need for extended siege and reduce the enemy to a single fight. There was only one exception to this. As luck would have it, the human empire of Ulisu to the south had the largest standing army in the world. Even if I recruited every mercenary, I would still be outnumbered 2 to 1. So I drained his treasury and I waited. Eventually, he could no longer afford to maintain his army and fell like the rest of them. Jackaton lives by a simple proverb: feed the earth and it will feed you. But we fed the earth so much that nature herself is vomiting up red. There's too many prisoners of war and not enough mass graves to go around. The rest is morbid history as I took the rest of the map. Jackaton is now the single state empire of the world. Resources are limitless. Currency is infinite. For we possess an infinite money printer, the design of which is as follows. I form a puppet state, declare war on them, take all their money from a peace treaty, invade them anyway, and install a new puppet to repeat the process. I have, in every sense, completely rigged the system. But like Sisyphus reaching the top of a mountain, I had nothing left to struggle against. And so too did I lose my interest.
He made his body lean of his Dragon Age character on max, bro.
Oh, I made a royal decree.
I'm not surprised. Look at how he stands.
And so
look how he's got him standing, bro.
Too did I lose my interest. So I made a royal decree to to arrest everyone. If you're ever interested in ending the game, just click prosecute on your main population. Guards start arresting citizens, then they arrest other guards before being arrested themselves. Prison wardens get jailed and break out of their own prisons. Chaos and pandemonium rule the day as everyone turns on each other and eventually they turn on me. In summary, Songs of Six has a very expansive, detailed, and enjoyable tutorial. At 160 hours of playtime, I can't wait to play the actual game. This may not take the spot for Game of the Year. As we all know, that's reserved for Churn Vector, but it's a very close
I refuse to look that up.
second. The graphics, the changing of seasons, the music, the scale of the simulation. Considering this is written in Java, I have no words.
Wow.
There's no other game where the line between city builder and sociopathy is so blurred. To demonstrate this, for my second playthrough as the Garfimi, I proposed a novel form of meat production. It's less of a ranch or a pasture, and more of a tilapia nursery. For reference, at a consumption rate of half an apple a day, a fully grown tilapia child costs us 32 apples, but gives us twice that amount in meat and leather. And once they're adults, we arrest, execute, and butcher them. The tilapia child to tilapia soup pipeline is highly effective. And while my humans don't agree with cannibalism because they're bigoted chuds that can't grasp the richness of Garfimi culture, their stomachs can't complain. So, what have we learned today? 1. Prisoners are the ultimate cash crop. Labor is a resource, and so are they. 2. Look past people and their differences, and see them instead as a source of protein. 3. Much like real life, retirement is economically unfeasible and exists only as a carrot and stick to motivate the working class. I give this game my highest recommendation. I give it no days of food out of we're about to starve. And because it's mainly one guy and not a corporate entity, I can just ask for a sale. If you're interested, it's 20% off on GOG and Steam for the rest of April. The first 100 to use the link win a free chemical castration or prefrontal lobotomy. Terms and conditions may apply. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos. You're all truly wonderful. Have a good one.
Hell yeah. All right, that was incredible. Oh my goodness, dude. You have no idea how worried I get when some of these videos start. That is exactly what I expected from Seth, dude, with a video of this kind of caliber. Shouts out to the creator of this, man. Just being willing to just go there. This is just insanity. Available until 1/05/24. Did I miss this? This just came out in April. Why is the sale ending? Oh, maybe, he's foreign. So that's the first date of next month, 2024. What a weird way to type your dates. But yeah, dude, that, it's kind of complicated for me, kind of intimidating when I have so much Dragon's Dogma left to play. I haven't even started New Game Plus yet. So that means until I hit level, 150, 200, I'm not playing anything else between that, besides that and Tekken. But if anybody else has any playthroughs of this game, please let me know. Please let me see some of your highlights. I would love to watch it. Slavery, economic takeover, it's got everything you could ever want. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.